नमस्कार, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल दोस्तों। स्वागत है आपका एक बार फिर से हमारे YouTube चैनल ब्रास फ्यूजन्स पर, जहां हम आपके लिए एक बार फिर से लेकर आए हैं एक नया लेसन।
Good morning, everyone. So today we will be discussing Ingre-Berubari Union. I hope some of you have read the judgment. And could someone apprise us about the facts of the case? And what was Ingre-Berubari Union about? Yes. Any idea what it was about?
Ma'am, the case of Berubari Union was pertaining to the exchange of enclaves,
Okay.
Kuchbihar enclaves,
Right.
and the territory Berubari 12,
Okay.
and there was Nehru Noon agreement, and to implement that agreement, the center exercised its power under 73(1) subclause B.
Okay.
Then there was advisory opinion sought by the obviously the president from the Supreme Court of India under Article 143 of the Constitution,
Okay.
and the Supreme Court gave its advice that if the agreement is pertaining to the exchange of territories or ceding of territories, then either we can amend the Constitution under Article 368 or we can amend Article 3 providing for the cessation of territory, and then we can create an ordinary legislation and then we can cede the territory. But via these means, with the help of agreement, we cannot cede the territory. So, ma'am, this is the crux of entire judgment.
Okay. Thank you, Akash.
But thank you, ma'am. But at the end, ma'am, I have also few doubts, so I will.
Yes, Akash, definitely. So, we will be taking all your doubts. So let's just start with the judgment, and maybe subsequently we can use your doubts. Is that fine?
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, so Akash was extremely right. Now, this question is about whether let's say an agreement that sort of decides division of a territory between two countries, India and Pakistan. First of all, whether that agreement is secession or not, and if it is a secession, where do you locate the power to cede the territory, and what is the procedure for ceding the territory? Now, if you remember in previous class we discussed, and all of you had remarked, what are the different provisions in Indian Constitution wherein we can cede this territory? Okay, so let us look into in Berubari Union, and I hope the slide is visible to you. Just give me 1 second.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Fine. Now in the Berubari Union, we are basically concerned with. Okay, before we come that, what does INRE mean? INRE means that it's a presidential reference under Article 143 Clause 1. Okay, that is where we use the term INRE. So all those judgments which is using the term INRE basically means a presidential reference, wherein the president, and when I say president, again, as I keep on repeating, president means president on the aid and advice of Council of Ministers. Okay, so president refers a question of law or fact to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court then decides it accordingly. So there are no traditional there are rival contentions obviously, but there are no traditional, it is not traditionally a dispute between two parties. It is a reference made by the president if there appears to be some lacuna or they need, or the executive needs some clarity on the position of law. Okay, then, and this is Article 143 is therefore an example of advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. So Ingre Berubari was in pursuance of Article 143. So just remember that whenever we find this term Ingre, it refers to presidential reference or exercise of advisory jurisdiction of Supreme Court under Article 143. Now, there are 3 questions that have been raised in this case. 1, is any legislative action necessary for the implementation of the agreement relating to Berubari Union? Second, if so, is a law of parliament relatable to Article 3 sufficient, or do you need a constitutional amendment under Article 368? Okay. And third, if a law under Article 3 is sufficient for implementation of agreement, or an amendment or an amendment is required per se. Now, these are the three questions that have been raised in Re Berubari Union in this case. Now, before we come to the questions per se, now let us, for a very brief period, let us quickly summarize the facts of this case. Now, the facts of this case are very simple. The facts of the case being that there was an agreement between India and Pakistan, okay, with regard to distribution of Berubari Union. Now, the agreement was nothing but an agreement that sort of implemented an award which was given by a tribunal because of a dispute that arose between India and Pakistan, whereas Pakistan was saying that Berubari Union is a part of its own territory, and India was arguing that Berubari Union is a part of its territory. Now, that is the crux of the decision, and the question automatically falls under how do you implement this agreement? Now, what was being argued by the state was primarily that this agreement can only be interpreted by an executive decision. You don't need anything else. You just need an executive decision to interpret an agreement. And it is in this regard that these three issues arose. That how do you implement an agreement? Do you actually need a legislative action or not first? And if you need a legislative action, what kind of legislative action is required? Do you require a law under Article 3 of the Constitution, or do you require an amendment of the Constitution itself? And in case you require a law under Article 3 of the Constitution for this agreement relating to exchange of enclaves and division of Berubari Union, is the law under Article 3 sufficient? Or do you need, in addition to a law under Article 3, also an amendment of the Constitution under Article 368? Okay, so I hope these three questions are clear to you, and if it is unclear, please let me know. That the main crux being, do you need a law to implement an agreement with regard to Berubari Union? And if you need a law, where is it that you will, under which provision do you make a law? Do you make it under, let's say, Article 3 of the Constitution or Article 368 of the Constitution, that is constitutional amendment, or both? Okay, you require a law under both. There are the three important issues which are raised in Berubari Union. Now, there are several arguments that have been given by Union of India, and that will help us understand how this right to seat by a sovereign is placed. Now, again, I will ask you the same question that I asked you before, and some of you now might have read the judgment itself, and just answer me briefly that where is it that you locate the right to seat under the Indian Constitution? What are the provisions wherein you will find the right to seat under the Indian Constitution? Under the Indian Constitution. Is there any provision? Because some of you were citing Article 1, 2, 3, 4 in the last class. So, do you still believe that the right to seat can be found under Article 1 or Article 2 or Article 3 or Article 4? Okay, Ravi Khan says Article 1 and Article 3. Fine. Anyone else who disagrees with Ravi Khan that no, it is not in Article 1 and 3?
I disagree. There is no express provision regarding the ceding of territory.
Okay, so Akash is saying that there is no express provision wherein you can locate power under the Constitution that will allow the state, okay, state, and by state I mean executive or the legislature, to cede a territory. Okay. Anyone else who agrees with Akash's point of view that there is no express provision? Okay, fine. So we have different viewpoints here. Now, one is that whether the power to cede is found under Article 1 and 3. Okay. And the second being that whether it is not found at all under the provisions of the Constitution. So, okay, Sagar also says that there is no express provision in the Constitution, and the reason why Ravi Khan says is that power to cede a territory falls under Article 1 and 3 is because India is a sovereign country, and if you are a sovereign, you have both the power to acquire and power to cede. Something that we discussed in the last case, that the very foundation of sovereignty, or the one of the very essential attribute of sovereignty is that you have absolute control over the territory. And if you have control over the territory, you not only have the right to cede the territory, you not only have a right to acquire or assert your sovereignty over other territory, but also cede your territory to some other nation. So, yes, that is something that is a power of the sovereign per se. Now, let us come back to Berubari Union and try and understand what are the different arguments that were placed by Union of India to basically argue that it did have a right to, there is no legislative action required. Now, what it was saying is that the reason why it does not require a legislative action to implement an international agreement is the reason being that there is no ceding of territory. The interpretation that was given to the agreement by the Union of India in the specific judgment was that what we are doing is that we are not ceding a territory, we are only ascertaining a boundary dispute. That means that the territories that are now being given to Pakistan and the Pakistani territory that are coming to us were actually are not territory over which India did exercise sovereignty. Rather, we are contemplating an ascertainment of boundary dispute wherein the sovereignty was still in question. And that is the reason why this ceding or this exchange of territory is not a ceding of territory. Okay? So please understand that. And the main argument that was given by Union of India was that this is not a case of ceding of territory. This is an ascertainment of boundary dispute. And please keep in mind this argument because when we read subsequent cases, this distinction plays a very important role as to what is ceding and what is not ceding. That this argument also manifests itself in the subsequent judgment with regard to whether Berubari Union is applicable in a specific case or not. Because Berubari Union case is a case about secession of territory. How is it that you cede the territory? And the procedures or the judgment in Berubari Union or the procedure prescribed in Berubari Union will be applied only in cases of secession of territory. Now, the argument given by Union of India was that it is not a ceding of territory. It is only a implementation of an international agreement with respect to territories which were in dispute. So we are settling a boundary dispute. That's it. We are not ceding a territory over which we exercise sovereignty. Now, that was something which was not accepted by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said that the Berubari Union, it was, if you look at the agreement and if we interpret the agreement between India and Pakistan, the agreement says that Berubari Union is going to be divided into half. Okay, half of Berubari Union will stay with India and half of it is going to go with Pakistan. And prior to this division of agreement of dividing Berubari into half, we had Berubari was a part of West Bengal. It was being administered as an Indian province, Indian territory. And because of that, the argument that it is merely a settlement of boundary dispute is not something that we can accept. It is in fact a ceding of Indian territory in favor of a foreign state. And it is not merely an ascertainment of boundary dispute wherein the sovereignty over that specific territory was still questionable or debatable. It is rather a ceding of the territory. Okay, so this is something which was said or which was the specific argument of Union of India was not accepted. So now the other reason why the Union of India was arguing that no legislative action is required to implement an international agreement, apart from the argument that ascertainment of boundary dispute is not secession, according to Union of India, was that settlement of boundaries is an executive action, okay? Something which the executive can take. Now, how was it determining whether something is an executive action or not an executive action? By arguing that, just have a look at Article 53 of the Constitution, okay? And they take us to different provisions of the Constitution, which says that executive power of the Union shall be vested in the President and shall be exercised by him either directly or through officers subordinate to him in the Constitution. So the executive power of the Union is vested in the President. Now have a look at Article 73, Clause 1. I hope you have the Bare Act of Constitution handy. That's why I'm just briefly going through the text. Right. I'm presuming that you have the Constitution and you will be able to flip through the pages. So please have a look at Article 73, Clause 1. What does it say? Subject to the provisions of this Constitution, the executive power of the Union shall extend to the matters with respect to which the Parliament has power to make laws. That means that whatever legislative power of the Parliament, whatever power the Constitution has vested in the Parliament to make laws, with regard to those laws or that power, the President means obviously President is being the representative, rather the Council of Ministers, have been vested concurrent executive power. So the extent to which Parliament exercises its legislative power, the same extent is the extent of the executive power being vested in the President under Article 53, Clause 1. Now, if you look at Article 253, if you look at List 1, the Parliament has the power to make laws to give effect to international agreements, right? And the Parliament also has the power to make laws on make laws in order to implement international agreement, not only under Article 253, but also under the first schedule. That means that the executive power of the Union government also extends to making or implementing international agreement through executive action without the requirement of having any legislative action. So I hope you understood this argument. So the argument is layered. The Union of India is giving a layered argument. First, it says that Berubari Union is not about secession, it is about ascertainment of boundary dispute, and therefore we do not require a law. We do not require a legislative action. We only require executive action because what we are doing is we are settling a boundary dispute. And because the power of the Union executive is concurrent and coextensive to the power of the Parliament's legislative power, if the Parliament has the legislative power to make laws implementing international treaty, executive powers of the Union government also extend to giving effect to treaties through executive action. And that is why we, first of all, know, because it is not secession, we do not require legislative action. And where do we find this power of executive implemented transfer of enclaves to Pakistan or exchange of territory between India and Pakistan? Through the constitutional provisions itself, wherein executive power of Union is coextensive with Parliament's legislative power. Now let us have a look at the opposite contentions. Okay. Now a very interesting contention in opposition to what Union of India gave was that Parliament does not have the power to cede territory. And why does not it have the power to cede territory? Very interesting. That no provision of the Constitution talks about power to cede. Okay. And this is where what Ravikant was saying and what Sagar was saying and what Akash was saying becomes relevant. That where do you find the power to cede territory? Now, for example, what Ravikant is arguing that the power to cede territory is under Article 1 and 3. Now, what was being argued on the opposite hand, wherein something opposed to what Union of India was arguing, that through executive action we can cede territory, is that leave alone the executive, the Parliament itself does not have power to cede territory. And if the Parliament does not have the power, obviously, legislative power to cede the territory, it does not extend to the executive itself. And why was it argued that the Parliament does not have the power to cede territory? Anyone who can answer to that? What was the interesting argument that was taken by the, and there are pointers in the PowerPoint, which will help you guide through the arguments, that why does Parliament does not have a power to cede territory? Anyone who would like to argue that?
Ma'am, the court said that
not the court. I'm not discussing about the court. What were the rival contentions? I'm just having a look at the message. I think the background noise is no longer there. If it is, just let me know. I was not looking at the chat. Yes, someone was saying something with regard to the question. Yes.
One of the arguments was given that in the constitution, the terms like unity and integrity have been overemphasized, especially in the preamble, which would signify that the constitution makers did not comprehend breaking up of India or like breaking up of parts of India. And also, ma'am, it was used as a contention that when it is specified that territories may be acquired, and explicitly there is no mention of territories being seceded. So the explicit mention of acquired automatically gives us an assumption or interpretation that they meant to exclude the secession of territories. Had nothing been mentioned, we might have assumed that the power to acquire and secession both are there. But since acquiring territories explicitly mentioned, so that would give us an assumption that the secession, the parliament has no power to secede.
Right. Thank you, Tanvi. So, what was argued, as Tanvi correctly pointed out, that first of all, that nowhere under Article 1 to 4 do we find this mention of the term ceding of territory. Okay, that means the Constitution does not give the Parliament the power to cede the territory. There is no power which has been conferred on the Parliament to cede the territory. Now, most of the powers of the Parliament have to be found in some provision. Okay, so for example, even when we were discussing basic structure, we discussed that how does the Parliament have the constituent power, which is the provision which vests the Parliament with the constituent power to bring about a change in the Constitution or amend the Constitution. And if you remember the entire Golaknath and Keshwanand Bharti debate, the entire question was about locating the provision where the power to amend the Constitution can be found, which has been given to the Parliament. So, for example, Keshwanand Bharti was saying that it is found under Article 246, and Golaknath was saying it is found under Article 368 itself. 24th Constitutional Amendment clarifying the position that no, Article 368 is about power of the Parliament to amend the Constitution. So that means that the reason why I'm bringing this example is so that generally what we do is when we try to find where does the Parliament derive a power, we try to locate specific provisions which vest that specific power in the Parliament. Now, as Tanvi argued, or as Tanvi pointed out, none of the articles from Article 1 to 4 actually talk about or use the word cede. You do have the word acquire, but you do not have the word cede. That means that the presumption being that Parliament does not have the power to cede territory at all. There is no power which is vested in the Parliament to cede the territory, first. Now, the second being reference to preamble, okay? And a very interesting point comes up with respect to preamble, but let's have a look at the preamble. And preamble, what does it say? That unity and integrity of India has to be maintained. And when we say unity and integrity, it also means territorial integrity. That means that the preamble itself, the objective clause, which is the preamble, tries to or argues or holds that integrity of India has to be maintained. That means that even territorial integrity has to be maintained and territorial integrity cannot be disturbed. So that means that when we say that India is an indestructible union, it means that the government or the Parliament, the government per se does not have the power to cede territory at all. It does not have the power. Now, the argument in that regard was also made with reference to Article 13C. So in Article 13C, we have the use of the term acquire, but we do not have the use of the term cede. Okay? Now what was being said is that what is expressly excluded means that the alternative is not possible. Okay? If you expressly exclude something. Now, because Article 13C does not use the term cede, that leads to the conclusion that secession of territory by the Parliament is not allowed. While the Parliament may make laws to acquire territory, it cannot make laws to cede the territory. Now, these are the contentions which were given by the opposite parties, who were basically challenging the contentions put forth by the Union of India. Now, let's come to the judgment and how the judgment tries to look at the power of the Parliament to cede, or the power of the Union government to cede the territory. Okay. Now, one thing becomes clear that we do not find the mention of the term cede anywhere from Article 1 to Article 4 of the Constitution. So, right from Article 1 to Article 4 of the Constitution, we do not find the mention of the term seat. Now, the question, therefore, the first question that you must address is that, does Parliament at all have the power to cede its territory? Now, before we do that, first let's look into the Berubari Union and see that whether it was a secession or not. And what the judgment is very clearly saying, and this is something that we already discussed, that the agreement is not about ascertainment of boundary, it is about secession per se. So the second question being that if you cede the territory, what is it that you are altering? You will alter the first schedule, right? So if you look at the first schedule and if you look at the state of West Bengal, you will have to remove Berubari Union or that part of Berubari Union which was a part of West Bengal before this agreement from the territory of West Bengal. That means that there has to be an alteration of the content of the first schedule. Now what the court said was, and how it sort of did not accept the rival contention with regard to the fact that preamble says that unity and integrity is something which is extremely important. And what Berubari Union held was that preamble is not a part of Constitution of India. So we don't rely on preamble to determine whether there is a power vested in the union government to cede the territory or not. And this is obviously subject to dispute, especially because in subsequent judgment, Berubari Union with regard to this very statement has been overruled. And the courts have subsequently very categorically said that yes, preamble is a part of Constitution. But Berubari Union said that preamble is not a part of the Constitution and therefore the presence of the term unity and integrity will not help us ascertain whether the union government has the power to cede territory or not. Okay, so because preamble is not a part of that part of Union of India. And that is why it did not accept the argument posed by those who were challenging the Union of India's stance. What was also said by the Supreme Court was, and it's very interesting, that why can't we say that Union of India does not have the power to cede territory? Why? Because obviously, even if Article, let's say 13C, does not use the term seat.
दोस्तों, ब्रास फ्यूजन आशा करता है कि आपको हमारा लेसन पसंद आया होगा। कमेंट बॉक्स में अपना फीडबैक देना ना भूलें।